Adelante, por favor.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's a pleasure to warmly welcome you to this webinar organized by the Ministry of Education as part of the Continuing Education Program for Primary and Secondary Educational Staff 9 program, taking place at the beginning of the academic year in February 2026. We greatly appreciate your participation this evening. This professional development space has been designed to strengthen educational practice, address needs identified in everyday teaching contexts, and support solid start to the school year, both in terms of institutional management and student learning. We hope you find this session useful, relevant, and enriching for professional work. The title of today's webinar is Action-Oriented Methodologies for EFL Teaching and Learning. This session is aimed at primary and secondary English teachers, 9 program from the Ministry of Public Education. Before we begin, allow me to briefly share the purpose of this session. This webinar aims to strengthen pedagogical mediation and curricular implementation in the English subject area at the primary and secondary levels 9 program through professional development activities articulated around the strategy thematic axis. These activities are oriented toward the development of students' oral communicative competence, meaningful interaction, and the design of authentic communicative tasks, all supported by the pedagogical use of emerging technologies and assessments for learning in order to contribute to the development of English language competence within the Costa Rican education system. This is Luis Roberto Ureña Díaz, Regional English Advisor from the Desamparados Regional Education Office, who will be serving as the moderator for tonight's webinar. At this moment, we kindly ask all participants to please complete the attendance register, which is already available in the chat. Let me briefly outline how tonight's session will unfold. We will begin with the main presentation entitled Strategies for Interaction and Oral Production in the English Classrooms. Finally, we will conclude with a question and answer session. To continue with tonight's webinar, we will now introduce our specialists. It's a pleasure to welcome Yorleni Romero Chavez. Yorleni Romero is an academic professor at the Universidad Técnica Nacional UTN, where she works within the Institutional Program of Languages for Work. She holds a master's degree in Second Language and Cultures, as well as a specialization in the design and development of online courses. Her professional backgrounds includes extensive national and international training in education and technology, artificial intelligence, active learning methodologies, and virtual education within the field of English as a foreign language. With broad experience teaching English across diverse educational levels, she has served as a presenter as a multiple national and international seminars. She has also collaborated with the Ministry of Public Education, MEP, as an English teacher trainer, contributing to the nationwide professional development initiatives. Now, let me introduce to Jainer Arias Picado. He's an academic professor at the Universidad Técnica Nacional, UTN, where he works within the institutional program of Language for Work. He holds a professional master's degree in English teaching with an emphasis on the administration and evaluation English language programs. His academic and professional training includes foreign language education, curriculum development, assessments, and the design of virtual learning environments. With several years of experience, professional fields including engineering and technical programs, he actively contributes to oral assessment processes, academic projects, and institutional initiatives focus on the strengthening students' communicative competence. He has also collaborated with the Ministry of Public Education MEP as an English teacher trainer, supporting national EFL educational practices. Jorleni and Jeanette, thank you both very much for being with us today. Tonight. You might begin.
Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate your time and willingness to participate in this learning and sharing space. We hope this session becomes an opportunity to learn together, share experiences, and reflect on our teaching practices based on what we live every day in our classrooms. We look forward to a meaningful and enriching exchange that will benefit us all as English educators. Our topic today, as you can see now, is action-oriented methodologies for EFL teaching and learning. I will be presenting the topic together with my colleague, Jainer Arias Picado. We both work for UTN, Universidad Técnica Nacional, in the Programa Institucional de Idiomas para el Trabajo. I will be presenting the first part, and then Jainer will be sharing with you a class that we designed as an example of all the theory that I am going to share right now. So I guess we're ready to start, and I'm going to begin with an activity, guys. For the activity, you need a piece of paper and a pen or something to write with. This is going to be self-assessment. So you will be writing the answers, but you don't have to share them with anyone. It is just for you. And then when we check the answers, you will check your answers as well. And you will see how you're doing in terms of the answer to this question that we have here. How do adults learn best? So I have a set of 10 statements that I will read one by one. Slowly, I will give you time to read them too. And then on a piece of paper, I want you to write down your answers. Then you check them, we check them together, and you will see how you're doing in that topic, okay, related to the answer to that question. Are you ready to start? Okay, so we will read statement number 1. Please write down your answers. Don't forget to do that so that you can participate along with me now that I am talking about this topic. Number 1 says, adults learn better when content is presented in a theoretical and decontextualized way without any connection to their previous experience. Is that true or false? I'm going to give you a sec so that you can write down on the piece of paper that you already have in your hands the answer, true or false, to number 1. What do you think? You can read it again if you want. They learn better when content is presented in a theoretical and decontextualized way without any connection to their previous experience. Okay, let's check the answer. This statement is false. It is completely false. Adults learn better when they can connect what they know to the new information they are getting. Okay? And also when they can see an immediate use of what they are learning. So they need a context to make it meaningful and that they can see it is useful. Okay? And if it is practical, of course. And they need to connect, to make that connection with their experience. Okay, so that is completely false. It is the other way around. Now we're going to move on to number 2. Active methodologies support adult learning because they promote participation, autonomy, and problem solving in real life situations. True or false? Some seconds to think about it and write down your answer. All right. Let's see the answer now, my friends. All right. This is completely true from head to toe. The whole thing. They promote participation, autonomy, and problem solving in real life. All those 3 are true for adult learning. Actually, this is a golden rule of andragogy, okay? That says that we need to treat adults as capable, experienced professionals rather than passive students, okay? Also, autonomy honors adult identity. They go from spectator to actors, participation. They are active subjects of their own learning process. And problem solving is called situated cognition. Adults are naturally task-oriented. They are doers, right? They, for example, they don't want to know about a hammer. They want to use a hammer. So they want to get in the middle of the action. In this case, this statement is completely true. As I said, from head to toe, all of it is true for adult learning. All right, let's move on to number 3. In adult education, learners' previous experience can become a learning resource for the whole group. True or false? What do you think? Their previous experience can become a learning resource for the whole group. What is your opinion about it? True or false? Okay, let's see the answer. This is true. And this is true because when we're teaching adults, the classroom becomes a learning community. The group's collective intelligence is tapped into with collaborative tasks. And that is exactly what we do when we use action-oriented methodologies. So this is true. Number 4. In adult education, learning is limited when learners participate in decision-making about their own learning process. Again, in adult education, learning is limited when learners participate in decision-making about their own learning process. True or false? Take a look at it, read it again, think about it, and write down your answer. Okay, let's see the answer. This is false. It is the other way around. Learning is not limited when they participate. Actually, they do need to participate. They do need to get involved. Actually, adults have a psychological need to be self-directed. They need to be able to make decisions because that is what we do in our lives. We make decisions, and it is very frustrating for them when we force them into passive learners' roles. They need to be active and be part of the process in everything that they can. And there is where we that design the learning experience need to take that into account. Okay, that they need to be active participators. They need to get involved and give them some decisions to make as well. Number 5. Problem-based learning, that is another action-oriented methodology, is appropriate for adults because it focuses on real situations from the professional context. PBL is appropriate for adults because it focuses on real situations from the professional context. What do you think? True or false? Okay, guys. Let's see the answer. This is true. And this is true. Actually, this is a gold standard in adult education. This is how adult brain is wired to process information. I'm sorry. Adults are very practical and they need to see the immediate utility of what they are learning. They use their prior experience to analyze the problem and build new knowledge on that. Okay, so yes, PBL is very appropriate for adults in terms of giving them situations that they, most of the time, problems that they need to solve in a professional, real context. All right, very good. So we are halfway already. I hope you're doing well. Now we're going to move on to the next one, containing the other part of the statements. And we have number 6. Adult motivation is mainly external. Therefore, active methodologies have little impact on adult learning. True or false? What do you think? Okay, let's see the answer. The answer for number 6 is false. And it is because adult motivation is mainly internal. It's internal. We're talking about satisfaction. We're talking about self-esteem and about quality of life. That is motivation for adults. For younger students, motivation is external. It is related to prizes they may get, grades, recognition, you know. But in the case of adults, it is internal. So that statement is false. And when we talk about acting methodologies, they have some characteristics that really match what adults need and want when they learn. For example, immediate feedback, also hands-on, that is participation, active, and also engagement, being part, doing something, okay? Being more or less under control of the process, their own learning process. Let's take a look at number 7 now. Number 7 says, adults learn better when they are able to reflect on their practice and receive feedback. True or false? When they can reflect on their practice and receive feedback. True or false? All right. The answer to number 7 is true. Actually, this is called reflective practice. Adults don't just learn by doing, but they learn by thinking about what they did and understanding how to do it better next time. They do think about what they do, how they are learning, how they are performing, the mistakes that they make, and the feedback you give them. They think about it and try to internalize that. And also, this practice encourages metacognition. That is, learning how to learn. And this is very related to the way adults learn. Number 8, and we're about to finish. In active methodologies with an andragogical approach, the teacher's role is to facilitate learning rather than transmit information. How did you feel about number 8? True or false? Write down your answer, please. Here we're talking about the teacher's role to facilitate learning rather than transmit information. And the answer to number 8 is true. Now, what is our role in a class for adults using active methodologies? Okay, we need to create a climate of mutual respect, an environment that is secure for them, respectful, where they feel comfortable. Also, we need to identify the gaps, that is to identify what they need. Remember, they learn something that is meaningful and useful. So we need to give them what they need, what they want for their life, for their professional life, for a goal they may have. And we also have to connect the learners to the learning resources. We are not the only learning resource at all, but we need to teach them how to keep on learning, how to be life learners, how to access information, how to use the different tools, where to find them, how to work with them, how to take advantage of them. That is our role. Information is there on the internet with artificial intelligence, but we need to teach them how to access that knowledge and process it. All right, number 9, please. Collaborative learning is not recommended for adults because each learner works independently. True or false? All right, we're ready for the answer. And the answer to number 9 is, it is false. It says collaborative learning is not recommended. And the answer, the correct thing would be to say it is recommended for adults. And why is that? Because learning is a social process. There is peer-to-peer resource sharing. Also, most of the work environments require teamwork. So adults are used to collaborating, working with partners in teams. So if we make learning collaborative, that they would feel it is more authentic, more related to the real world. And also, learning can be intimidating, especially for adults. And I have that experience, with my students, that they feel ashamed, they feel intimidated. Because they are adults, most of them are professionals, they know how to do things, some of them are very good, in their fields, and being exposed to not knowing something or being corrected in front of a group can be intimidating. So, collaboration reduces that learning anxiety they may feel. And we're going to move on to the last one, number 10. This is our last true or false statement. And it says, active methodologies allow students to connect learning with personal and professional goals. True or false? What do you think? All right, let's see the answer to number 10. And it is true. Actually, this is the why of adult learning. Why am I learning now? Because I have a goal. There is a job that I want. I have a special need for my family, for myself. If there is a goal, there is motivation as well. So this concept is known as goal orientation. And it has to do with goals that they have, the utility they see in learning, and also the motivation that all of this gives to them. Okay? So I guess now you're more into the topic of this webinar tonight. Now you're thinking about how adults learn, how they feel more comfortable, how we can use this information to make our classes more effective, more meaningful, creative, innovative for adults. All right. Now we're going to move on to some key words for adult learning. So out of all this information that we just discussed in the true or false exercise, we took out some key words, key aspects that we need to have in mind when we teach adults. So we're going to read them and explain them a little bit right now. So let's see the first key concept. The first key concept is practical application. Adults prioritize knowledge that they can use, that they can use immediately, that they can use to achieve their goals. And this is the utility factor, immediate relevance. Okay, so they need to know something they can use. Use to do what? Well, for example, to solve a task, to solve a problem, to improve their knowledge, or to work towards a goal that they have. All right, so they would learn something that they would be able to use. Okay, something that makes sense to them. All right, the next keyword is autonomy. Yes, they need to have they need to have the chance to participate, to have a say, to get engaged. They need to feel in control of their lives because they are already adults. So autonomy is key for adults' identity. And of course, we need to be smart to see how we can make them feel they have autonomy, even though we are, running the show, to say it in a way. They need to have certain autonomy in their learning process. The next key aspect for adult education is experience-based learning. That is using what they already know. We know that past experience in adults is their greatest resource. They already have experience, they know something, okay? They need to connect the new knowledge to what they already know. And in that sense, learning is meaningful and permanent for them. All right, the next one. The next one is real life situations. This makes learning meaningful. So we have to give them something they might encounter in their lives, in their professional life, being adults. Okay, so if we give them a real context, that will make learning more effective. Okay, adults are life-centered. So if we give them situations that may be real for them, they will see it meaningful. Okay, next one. The reason for learning. They need to know the why before they know the what. Why am I going to learn this? They don't care much about the what. What are we learning today? No, why? Why? What can I do with this? How can I use it in my life for my goals, what I have to do, right? So first, they need to understand the specific benefit they will get from the class, from whatever it is that they are learning in that class. Okay, next concept, please. It is collaboration, and we have talked about this already. But adults thrive when they share expertise because they know that is a very positive aspect in their lives, right? So they want to know their expertise, their experience, what they know, they want to participate, they want to be part of, and also help each other to solve a situation or carry out a task that we assign in class. Okay, next one. This is motivation. As I already told you, motivation for adults is internal, and it is very powerful. What are we talking about? Self-esteem, satisfaction, quality of life. So if we want to motivate them, we have to think about what would motivate them in a class, if that is what they want, okay? If it is internal motivation, when they feel they are able to do something, when they are capable of carrying out a task because they were well prepared and they can do it. Satisfaction. Quality of life, if they want to get a better job and they are getting for a job interview in a class, they would be very, very engaged in that class if that is a goal they have. Okay, next one. Next one is self-directed learning. We already talked about autonomy. We already talked about adults being actors and not spectators. They need to take initiative and responsibility for their own progress. They need to be part of it. Self-directed learning. Okay, they need to make decisions also, and also take the responsibility of their learning process. Okay, next please. We're about to finish with this part 2. goal-oriented learning, utility factor. Adults are organized around outcomes. They have a specific destination in mind. Okay, they do what they feel that would help them achieve what they have in mind. Okay, so they always have a goal, and what we have to do is to give them something that will help them achieve that goal. And we have one last keyword or concept, that is learner-centered approach. Well, this is very related to active methodologies, in which the learner is the center of the process. He is the doer, right? And the protagonist. The focus of the class should be on the learner's needs, wants, goals, dreams. And what are we? And what are we? We are mentors. We are artists that design a learning experience. So knowing all of this, knowing we're working with adults, knowing how their brain works, how they think, why they are learning, and all the other things that I already explained, then we're able to design very appropriate, effective, meaningful, innovative, creative learning experiences for them. Okay? All right. So now we're going to move on. When we read the programs that you guys have there is a purpose in all the programs, and this is the purpose that you have there. It says the purpose of studying in English in the educational system is the development of the learner's communicative competence, as well as the knowledge, skills, abilities, values, and competencies of a 21st century citizen. This requires the implementation of innovative communicative language teaching methodologies. And here, like whenever we're doing something, we have to go back to the purpose so that we can connect everything we do to achieve that purpose. So going back to this purpose that you have in your programs, it says the development of the learner's communicative competence. So what is what we want them to do to be able to communicate? It doesn't say that communication has to be 100% accurate. The use of grammar has to be 100% accurate. That pronunciation has to be native-like. It says communicate. That is, to be able to express my ideas and to be understood, and also to understand what people tell me. Okay? So to be able to exchange information, to communicate. That in the first place. And then it also talks about knowledge, skills, abilities, values, and competencies of the 21st century citizen. Now, which are those competencies? Well, we talk about adaptability and flexibility because we live in a changing world, now faster than ever. Also collaboration. We need people working together, thinking together, presenting projects and giving ideas together. And also a responsible global engagement is another of the competencies for the 21st century citizen. And it says that it requires the implementation of innovative communicative language teaching methodologies, and action-oriented methodologies are those that exactly match, they fit what it says here. Okay, what is the purpose of learning English in the educational system of MET? That purpose can be pursued with action-oriented methodologies because they have the characteristics, the necessary characteristics to achieve all this, to make them able to communicate, to develop the competences for the 21st century, and to create an innovative communicative language teaching environment. Okay, so that is important. Now, citizens, if we put that into practice, citizens will be able to actively participate in society because they are actors, not passive spectators. They can solve problems collaboratively because they develop critical thinking, teamwork abilities, and they also can adapt to global changes because they develop flexibility and adaptability. And those soft skills are developed in a class. And I think that when we teach English, there is a great opportunity to teach them other things that I call survival skills. They can be very good with their hard skills, their technical skills, but they do need to have the other skills to be able to fit in the world today. And those are the ones that I just mentioned. So taking advantage of that, we know that we can put that into practice in our classes too. And if we use the action-oriented methodologies, there is no way we can do them without putting this into practice. Collaboration, innovation, developing all these abilities and competencies. All right. Also checking your program, there is another important part that is mediation. Okay, so now I am getting to the part when we talk about teaching. Okay, all this is what we need to know, all the theory, all the ideas that we need to have in mind when we plan a class, when we think about how we're going to teach, which elements do we need in a class. But then comes mediation, that is how I mediate instruction, that is how do I teach my class, in short, okay? And then it says a shift from communicative to action-oriented language teaching requires the design and implementation of concrete, meaningful, and relevant real-life situations for students to demonstrate their English language abilities through tasks. This envisions the English classroom as a social, collaborative, action-oriented linguistic environment. So there are so many clues here that are totally related to the methodologies we're talking about. Concrete, meaningful, relevant real-life situations, and that is exactly what we give them, the tasks that we give them to do in class. And it said demonstrate their abilities, their English language abilities through tasks, that is doing things, not listening to a lecture or reading and reading and reading. No, they have to do things. They are doers in the class. And then it says that this envisions the English classroom as a social, collaborative, action-oriented linguistic environment. So social, they are sharing, they are not working in isolation. They are helping each other. Teamwork, leadership, tolerance, adaptability, flexibility, all those skills that citizens right now need. So as you can see, everything that we have said matches very well with your purpose and the mediation that MEP proposes for the English classes. Okay? So now I am going to move on to the next part that is related to the specific approach that that we want to emphasize tonight, and it is task-based learning approach, TBL. I am going to explain the different stages that this approach has, so that you then understand the class that my colleague Janet will share with you. The first step is schema activation. What is the difference between schema activation and a warm-up? In schema activation, there is a purpose, and it is completely related to what I am going to do in the class. It is the first step, and the idea is to connect the new knowledge to previous knowledge. as I was saying before, the importance of connecting what I already know to what I am going to learn. Okay, so it is to prepare the students for the tasks that they will do. Okay, so that would be schema activation, very short at the beginning of the class, 5 to 10 minutes. And there are many things that you can do. Now you will see an example later. Number 2 would be the pre-tasks. The pre-tasks is the scaffolding moment. They prepare the students for the main task. Okay, so it's the preparation part of the cycle. And how do they get ready for the main task? Well, you have to give them vocabulary, of course. They need words to speak or to produce writing. You have to give them the correct structure, that is grammar, in use, in context, used, okay? And you have to give them pronunciation and examples of what you want them to learn. And that is called modeling. You need to model what they have to do, okay? At the beginning, they are short, easy, guided, controlled, and then as you unfold the class, they become a little bit more independent, let's say, also a little bit more elaborated, all right? Now, they are good because students need to get ready to producing the main task. So they need to feel confident, comfortable, and that helps them to lower anxiety because they get prepared for a performance, for their main performance in the class. That is the main task. Of course, the pre-tasks are strictly related to the main task, okay? Because they will prepare them for that. So that is the scaffolding. And then comes the main task. That is the engagement part, and it is the central communicative activity of the class. And here we need to focus on the ability to communicate more than on accuracy. And of course, it is strictly related to the learning outcome of the lesson of the week or of the class. Okay? So, for example, if the learning outcome says that students will be able to describe their daily routine at work orally, what would be the main task? Well, that it's exactly that, describing their daily routine at work in an oral way. It can be writing because you have to stick to the learning outcome, what it says that your students will be able to do. Now, to do that, what do they need to get ready with the pre-tasks? So what do we give in the pre-tasks? The vocabulary that they need. And where is that vocabulary? In your program. Okay, and which grammatical structure in the program? Everything is there. Okay, so you just have to put everything together and make sure that once you have the plan already designed, you go back and make sure with those pre-tasks, your students will be able to carry out the main task. And finally, you move on to the post-task. That is the closure of the cycle. That is the consolidation of knowledge. It may include reflection, analysis, a specific explanation of something, error correction. And now we can talk about accuracy. And how did you do that? Well, when they were performing or preparing or carrying out the main tasks, and especially the pre-tasks, and especially the main task, you walk around and you get close to them and then you take notes and see how they're doing, especially in the main task. You will have the opportunity to see how they did and which aspects you need to emphasize or explain in the post-task. And that's how it works. That is the TBL cycle for this approach. All right, so now I will turn the floor to my colleague Jainer so that he can show a class that we both prepared, we both planned, designed for you to give you an example of how we put all of this theory into practice. Adult education and also the TBL, how and with one of the learning outcomes in one of your programs, so that you can see how we put all this into practice, how we make it tangible, let's say, we put it into practice in a class, in a real class. Thank you very much for your attention, and now it is Jainer's turn to talk to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Jorleni. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you, sharing all of this knowledge. What a pleasure. As Jorleni mentioned, task-based learning is an action-oriented methodology where students use language to complete a meaningful task. So the lesson, the one that I will show you, is organized in 4 stages. But something important to mention here is that we plan backwards. We plan instruction by starting with the final goal. So instead of asking, what activities will I do? We ask, what should students be able to do at the end? So this is the main goal. Also, identifying the desired results by asking these questions, and then we go back and back until planning learning experiences. So here, what activities will prepare them to succeed in getting the main goal? Well, this is the way how we have done this class, and we hope this is helpful for your performance as professors. Now, we have taken this idea from one of MEP programs. It has to do with my daily routine for A2 level based on the Common European Framework of Languages. Well, I will show you how this lesson on daily routines follows the TBL cycle explained by Jorleni. In this stage, which is the schema activation, we activate prior knowledge. Students already know some vocabulary about routines, as you can see in the pictures, and we use images to stimulate memory and reduce anxiety. What is the pedagogical purpose of this? Well, basically, it activates background knowledge, it prepares vocabulary, it increases confidence, as well as creates engagement. So before asking our students to perform a task, we prepare their minds, and it is through the schema activation. Here in this stage, we start with the pre-tasks. In task-based learning, the pre-task stage provides the necessary input and scaffolding to prepare students for the main task, which is a communicative task. So this is relevant. This stage is essential because students cannot perform a meaningful task without sufficient linguistic support. So this is essential to keep it in mind. As you can see, this is a listening pre-task, and students in here are exposed to language used in real context. So this is relevant in TBL cycle. Also authentic speech, natural pronunciation and rhythm, because as you can see here, an audio is provided. Also real-world communicative models. All of this allows students to hear vocabulary in context, observe sentences structured naturally, as all of this. Also improve pronunciation through modeling and connect classroom language with real-life communication, which is basically what we're looking for. So in here, we are not expected to teach isolated words. This is relevant to keep it in mind as well. We are presenting language as it is actually used. So that is the idea. Also, we provide feedback for them to check their answers. One more listening activity. In this case, also we expand students' lexical repertoire by providing more vocabulary. It reinforces previously learned vocabulary and develops listening comprehension skills, which is the main purpose of the listening pre-task. In here, students practice identifying keywords, meaning from context, as well as specific information. For example, we can listen to an audio. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, language is used here in a natural way. And the idea is that they get patterns from those activities that they can, use for their own performance. Input. Input is essential in TBL. It is essential because it provides guided exposure to target structures. Also, grammar is contextualized. Meaningful vocabulary is provided, as well as pronunciation support. Pronunciation because we also provide here audios for them to listen to, and take advantage of them. So in here, we don't focus on grammatical terminology. We don't speak about adverbs of frequency. We don't speak about the grammatical rules specifically, but we provide all of this information in context in a more natural way. In here, well, as you can see, present language is in context. Also, we highlight patterns naturally that they can take advantage of. As well, we guide students to notice usage, which is relevant. Well, this is more pre-task, but this is practiced and understanding check. In here, this activity, well, it's a comprehension check. It's a formative assessment opportunity for us. In here, for example, we ask students, how often do you brush your teeth? Or how often do you go to high school? How often do you read a book? And they should stand up to say always, squat for sometimes, and sit down for never. So this kind of activities using body language makes classes much more dynamic. And also is a way for us to assess if they are really understanding what we are learning here. So this is one of the advantages of this activity. Also, well, this is a fun learning activity. It is a tool called WordWall. And the WordWall activity serves to increase vocabulary retention because we're providing even more daily routines in here. Also, that reinforce daily routine expressions as well, promote active engagement, provide immediate feedback, which is one of the advantages of having these activities, and prepare students for the main communicative task. So this is very helpful. Something important is that, well, it is a way to integrate technology in class, which is relevant nowadays. The students complete the activity on their own cell phones, or also it could be projected for everybody in the class. Students could go to the smart board and answer the questions, drag the expressions, and this makes the activities even much more dynamic. So learning activities really help in this learning process. All right. In here we have a reading activity. Well, it has divided in 3 parts. Activities in the morning, activities in the afternoon, and activities at night. Readings provide a role and a model for the students to see how sentences are structured, but in context. So that is the idea, how adverbs of frequency are used in a given context. And they get patterns that they can use as a model to follow to create their own patterns. So this is very necessary and helpful. Then we have a couple of micro learning activities that we can use from the reading. And well, in this case, they have to mention 2 routines they do in the morning and in the afternoon, as well as mention how often they go out at night and go to bed early. So this is a way as well to see how much understanding they are having. And something good from readings is that we can ask students to read out loud in order to evaluate their pronunciation, to assess their pronunciation. So there are many ways on how we can take advantage of this kind of activities. Even peer assessment, we could ask them to compare their answers, to carry out speaking, about their answers. So there are many ways on how we can take advantage of them. Also, we have a writing stage, considering that we try to incorporate the 4 macro skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In this case, the writing activity functions as a bridge between input and full production. So this is relevant. The writing task expands the topic beyond daily routines because it integrates healthy habits: eating fruits, eating vegetables, drinking water, doing exercise, eating on times are some of the options we provide, but they could think about some others they already have. Also, it encourages a structured production, which is the main purpose of the activity, and prepares students for oral performance. In this case, well, they have to write 5 sentences telling how often they practice healthy habits, and they have to share their sentences in the academic WhatsApp group, which is something good because that makes them to be aware of the way they produce, they write, and they will be forced to or motivated, let's say, to write sentences properly, because there are others who are going to be checking their answers as well. So this is a good way to take advantage of this activity. Then we have the main task, and this represents the communicative task. This is the one in which they will be the ones producing on their own. And this is mainly the main goal of the class. So what are some of the pedagogical purposes of this class? Well, students use all previously practiced vocabulary. They apply target structures. They demonstrate understanding, and also they communicate meaning to the audience. So it is through an oral presentation how they do it. Also, they have to use adverbs of frequency in context, and they have to mention 5 routines. There is a product in this activity that is a collage using artificial intelligence. We provide Gemini as a tool to illustrate their presentation. Also, they will have to share the image in the academic WhatsApp group, or also it could be through a Padlet or any other tool that make our classes even more dynamic. And something important here is that all the input has been provided through the pre-tasks. The idea is that here in the main task, they are able to produce on their own. That is why test is not allowed. They are supposed to produce sentences and convey this information on their own. We also provide a sample prompt, as a guide in order to ask artificial intelligence. So create a collage with pictures of these routines, and they provide the ones they get interested in. And also, it is important to add, do not include test, because artificial intelligence provides, information based on the prompt. And the idea is that the students are the ones creating the task. Finally, there is a post-task activity, and this stage allows students to consolidate learning. So basically, this is the closing of the class. And in here, students reflect on what they learned. It extends the topic, reinforce vocabulary, which is vital, and strengthen autonomy, because the idea is that they become responsible of their own learning process as well. So they are no longer just describing routines, they are now thinking critically about healthy practices. That's why we include here, and I said that we go beyond. Ask the artificial intelligence about 5 healthy daily routines that are good for people your age. Read the answers carefully and choose the routines you think are interesting. And the students are the ones making those decisions. Then they share the results with the class. And this is a good opportunity to carry out some speaking as well, just to reflect on the importance of having healthy daily routines. And as well as the previous activity, we provide a sample prompt that they can take advantage of to ask artificial intelligence about those routines. And basically, this is our proposal. We have schema, the pre-tasks, which are the ones that provide all the input necessary through listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Grammar is in context. Vocabulary is authentic. We provide authentic material for the students to use as a model to get patterns from it they can take advantage of for their own performance. Then there is a main task in which they will be the ones producing on their own. We are models. We guide them in the process, but they are the ones constructing, building knowledge in this case. So that's why, as stated by Jorleni, this is a learner-centered process because they are the ones creating. And we have a post task, which is the closing activity in which they reflect, they carry out their own conclusions, and is basically a way to end up the class. Thank you so much for your attention. Hope this information is very helpful for your own practices in your classrooms, and hope you have enjoyed it. I will now hand it back to the moderator. Thank you so much.
Well, many thanks to our speakers for the valuable ideas and insights shared through this session. Okay, at this time, we will open the floor for comments and questions for our participants. Any questions? Okay, do we have one question? Our students are special. They have not only classes to attend, but also, okay, we have a long questions. Our students are special. They have not only classes to attend, but also family, economical problems, and jobs. I think MEP should implement syllables designed specifically for them. Conversational English syllabus for 10th and 11th is updated from 2009. Things has changed a little since then. I agree with you, Vladimir. Our students are special. They need a flexible program. The syllabus has not changed because let me see here. Okay, the syllabus has not changed because our students are young people and adults. More lessons per week are needed to learn a language. I agree with you, Vladimir. Our students are special and they need a flexible program. That was the question number 2. And let's go back to question number 1. Our students are special. They have not only classes to attend, but also family, economical problems, jobs. I think we should implement syllable design especially for them. Those are basically the 2 questions we have right now. We have another question. What do you think about the different contexts in rural areas?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think that that is something we need to pay attention to. In our case, at the UTN, we have campuses around the country. We have campuses in Punta Arenas, Atenas, San Carlos, Guanacaste, and they are very different. And so what we do is that we customize our classes as much as possible so that we can give them tasks that may be meaningful in their context. If it is, for example, a touristic area, we try to emphasize that. In attendance, for example, that they work a lot with animals and plants and stuff like that. So we try to customize classes for that. Environment, of course, is very important, is relevant to make classes meaningful. So it also has to do with the access they have to different facilities like the internet or how much technology they can use, for example. But yes, of course, environment plays a very vital role in teaching and also, of course, motivation for the students. Remember that we need to give them what they need, what they want, what they will be using. And of course, we need to think about it. So as much as your program and MEP allows, how much flexibility you have in terms of that, then you can customize your classes in that sense, taking into account that as an anecdote, I remember once that I had to teach a class in Atenas, and the material that the program had was about the subway in New York. So I had a hard time. They were not interested at all. That didn't reflect the reality. So it didn't make any sense for them. And from that experience on, I always pay attention to where am I teaching that class? Would this be meaningful for them? Would that be something they may face in their real life? So yes, that is something we need to pay attention to, that is relevant, and we need to be creative, to take that into account. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I have been reading some of the questions you have been writing in the chat. Well, I have some answers for you. You're asking for a change in the syllabus. And well, we have good news. We have been working on a new syllabus for adult education. So you very soon we will present that syllabus before the Superior Council of Education, and you will have a new syllabus that is shorter. It has less units, and it's really, really for adults. We had the support of a specialist in adult education, and she was working with us last year. So we have a new proposal that we think that really fits their needs. There's a change coming in for level 1 and level 2 and 3 with the new syllabus. Regarding the number of lessons, that is not going to change. We have to be honest. You're going to have 5 lessons, but with a different syllabus. So we think that with that amount of lessons, it will be okay with the new syllabus for you. And regarding conversational English that you say that is updated, yes, it is. You're right. And I know because I've been in different meetings with the advisors from technical education, and they are working on a new proposal. Very soon they will present this before the Superior Council of Education. There are many changes that are coming for you, and we have been really working really hard to create a new syllabus that really responds to the needs and to the things you have been telling us. Okay, like 2 years ago, I think we did a survey with you guys, and you participated, and based on the research and your answers, we designed a new curriculum, a syllabus for these students. So very soon, okay, as soon as we present it and we get approved, so you will have a new syllabus for your students. Okay, I think I answered most of the questions and the comments that I was looking at in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, Marianela. Thank you very much for all your questions and comments, guests and speaker, and dear teachers. Okay, before we conclude, we would like to sincerely thank all officials from the Ministry of Public Education who joined us for this webinar. We would also like to kindly remind you the importance of completing the attendance register, whose link is available in the chat. This registration is an essential requirement for the IDP, Ladislao Gámez Solano, to be able to issue the digital certificate of participation for each professional development activity carried out during the continuing education February 2026. For this reason, we kindly ask each of you to complete through this provided link both the attendance register and the corresponding evaluation. Please remember that this webinar will be able on the IDP YouTube channel, and we also encourage you to visit the continuing education website for additional information and resources. This brings our activity to a close. Once again, thank you very much for your participation, and we wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you very much once again for being part of this good learning and action oriented for teachers. Thanks.